Force Tucano display. So, Curbs opens his display with a half horizontal in front of us. And this year's sequence has been carefully designed to show off the underside of the aircraft as much as possible. And you can see there that besides the poppies down the sides of the aircraft, we also have a single large poppy emblazoned on the underside. And the words, "Lest we forget." Here's Curbs in a noddy stall turn. He's nodded it left and right, and now back round to the left before flying back in towards us. Tucano is in use at Royal Air Force Linton on Ouse in Yorkshire, where we train the next generation of RAF fast jet pilots. The student pilots come to us having done about 60 hours flying training on the Grob tutor, and those who've been selected to fly fast jets come to us, and we build on the basics that they've learnt on the tutor to prepare them to move on to the brand new Hawk T2 jet at RAF Valley.
Jet coming.
The disciplines we teach our students, as I said, they build on the disciplines that they've learnt during elementary flying training, but there's a large emphasis on things like formation flying, aerobatics, low-level navigation. We also teach... Now, I mentioned the Royal British Legion, which is one of our designated charities this year, but we're also supporting the Royal Air Forces Association, and if you haven't already visited their stand on the front row at Crowd Centre, I can recommend you go and pay them a visit. Go and say hello. And we also are showing the stand Carlos Garrett's turboprop engine. This next manoeuvre, a new one for this year, the hanging stall turn. Notice how Curbs there is transiting left to right in the stall turn and continues further right on the down line. Again showing off the underside of the aircraft to best effect. Running in from the right at 300 miles an hour with his wing depth to say goodbye. Give him a wave everyone, he can see you. So, ladies and gentlemen, for the show, so who are you joining us today?
Yeah, well, I thought so. Lovely to see that colour scheme. Absolutely delightful, particularly, this 100th anniversary year and all that. Sad but good all at the same time. And safely back on the ground now. Here's Curbs bringing the Tucano back in. But is this going to become a bit of a routine now? He was the roadman or not?
I think now, with the brand new Hawk T2 in service now with number 4 Squadron at Valley, that is a bit of a jump.
No. Well, it was a jump, of course, because he didn't get a call from Neil. He no doubt just got away from Andy Hill. He went behind the crowd there, and typical Neil, we were chatting to him earlier on today. He's a great sport, and amazing that a medical technician, would you believe, life is flying around in one of her Majesty's ex-aircraft.
Well, you've got to have a hobby, haven't you?
He's a super chap, got a great sense of humour, and he's been flying this classic Mark III since 1999. He's got over 600 hours on classic jets alone, and regularly enjoys flying this JP. Been trying to get his some time in the Hawker Hunter as well, and with any luck we'll see him displaying that in the not too future. But this is just a fun job for him. And I had the pleasure of getting in his JP with him some a couple of years ago, and it was a bit like a trip down memory lane, actually. I'd forgotten just how relatively close everything was to us, and what an ergonomic nightmare it is, with switches all over the place. Such was the genre of those aircraft developed in the 50s and 60s. There was no real sensible planning.
Oh, we went to have the FA Cup game.
As I mentioned, he's involved in the National Health Service, believe it or not, working as an electronics medical technician in Newcastle on time. Supported by his family as well, running the Newcastle Jet Promise Group from Newcastle Airport. The group was formed in 1995, is now one of the longest running ex-military flying groups.
I remember in Pilot magazine, probably about 10 years ago, they ran a feature where they were talking to one of the Jet Promise groups, and you could find the Jet Promise, well, I can't remember which market it was, for about £90 an hour. I imagine it's probably increased a bit since then.
Oh, absolutely right, yes. Mind you, I suspect flying a Spitfire is still more expensive, to be honest, but we'll check the figures with this.
I think you're probably right, yeah.
Anyway, this aircraft was built in 1960. It's X-ray Mike 479 out there for the spotters, and was delivered to the Royal Air Force in the summer of 1961. And served with one FTS as aircraft number 54. Reasonable longevity because this aircraft remained serves at the airfield for the next 17 years until final retirement in 1993 before handing over to the Ghana we've just been discussing. So I think you can see from the manoeuvres that Neil is flying today. It's a relatively pleasant aircraft. It's quite gentle, quite serene, and in fact he reminded me that any private pilot with a PPO can fly it with as little as 5 hours training, which just goes to show how relatively simple it is. It's also helping with that ergonomic nightmare that I was discussing earlier on. Slightly slower pass now from Neil. There's a good chance to for him to take a look at
Yes, it's still a fairly upright seating position, but maybe slightly more comfortable. An ergonomic nightmare.
Slowly wing overs, gentle barrel rolls, and coming in for a low pass now from the right-hand side. Pilot over the years, and a great pleasure having him. One of life's great enthusiasts and hugely committed to the airshow circuit. I left, but he's tightening it up on that turn, pulling a bit more G. I think he's opening up the throttle a bit as well. Yes, just flicking in now towards the crowd. Come on, boys and girls, big wave there. This is Neil McCarthy in the JP3. Distinguished by its slightly irritating whiny noise, I always think, described by many ex-JP pilots, of course, as fixed speed and variable noise. Final pass, sadly, so again, if you've got an opportunity to wave something, hats, coats, ice cream, whatever you have, mums and dads, teddy bears, this is Neil McCarthy, JP3. Thank you and well done. Great to see you here. Bye, Neil. Yes, and a big wave as well. Didn't we? I was delighted with the display, and it's looking particularly fine. It's gorgeous blue sky. Yep, this is not trick flying. This is just pure capability of this remarkable machine and its stolen characteristics. Talking to Peter earlier on today, he said it basically just does not stall. Conversely, of course, it doesn't do fast very well either, but it does eat up a remarkable amount of fuel, which would be most of the cost of operating this aircraft is actually just getting it from A to B. So here is now virtually flying sideways, a little bit of cross controlling as that wind is just helping him to keep the speed down, but also show the outstanding manoeuvrability. And it really is extraordinary. It is like a storm coming into the hover just before landing in the nest on the top of the trees. Conceived by the chief designer at the time, Reinhold Muse. The technical director was Eric Bach. All down to a fixed slat that runs along the entire length of the leading edge of the wings. And really, you may well have seen it there, displayed a hinged and slotted flat running right along the entire length of the trailing edge as well. This is almost rotary aviation flying. Virtually turning a circle there with barely turning the wings at all. Another extraordinary thing about this machine was that it had wings which were able to be folded back along the fuselage. Allowed the aircraft to be carried on a trailer or even towed behind the vehicle. The primary hinge being a boarding wing was located just at the wing root. Himself, a well-known aficionado, flies extensively out of the Shuttleworth connection. There's a bit of a thing with the Luftwaffe, having bought up the ALM collection many years ago. He's sold most of the other aircraft off now and keeping this as one of his favourites. You can see now how it's got this name, the long legs and the main landing gear. They contain oil and spring shock absorbers. And an enormous 18-inch travel on them that allows the aircraft to land on pretty rough and uneven surfaces. In its flying configuration here, you can see the landing gear with the legs under the impression that it very much is out of that Stork family. Yeah, virtually nothing in the landing configuration whatsoever. I really would like to have a go at flying this aircraft.
Amazing. Wait, actually, by that thing like that, you could almost get your back on. Really need much stress for you.
You would. 100 yards is about all you need, particularly if the wind is, I must admit, helping him a little bit today. But I'm usually impressed. Of course, it's much lighter than the small aircraft I fly in the Fayre, but nonetheless quite unique. Well, Fayre made 1,900 of these, but they were in a cooperative contract with the French as well, and after liberation the production continued in France with over 700 being produced there. Some transmissions in the background, they may be breaking through here, but I'm not quite sure what Peter is saying is breaking up there, but nonetheless it doesn't matter because this is a quite unique demonstration of very, very slow flying indeed. That throaty noise you hear coming from an inverted V8 Argus engine. That is the thirsty beast. That's the only meaty part of this entire airframe, to be perfectly honest. Maximum speed, barely 100 miles an hour. Range of about 380 kilometers and a service ceiling of just 15,000 feet. And there he is, bringing it back in again to the most remarkable touch and go. As I say, barely 100 meters of flight. Extraordinary the range and versions that this aircraft was involved with. Counter-insurgency work. Some had machine guns in the side windows. They had bomb racks, smoke laying. There was even an anti-submarine version. The French came up with a 5-seat, all powered then with a 233 Renault engine at that stage. And here he is now, literally coming into the hover. Barely a forward airspeed of around 10 miles an hour, maybe if that. And he can probably hang around there for quite a long time. Of course, this sort of work obsolete in today's modern warfare. One of the great problems is that you cannot protect this class of aircraft from ground fire or missiles of any sort, so very, very vulnerable indeed. So Peter calling up now. This is his last pass coming up, and said it's a real pleasure in a way that it's not happening very fast. It's superb to see. So as he comes back, ladies and gentlemen, please give Peter a great wave, won't you? It's a really, really superb aircraft. Great experienced hand there, Peter. And just superb bit of flying. Barely dropping down. It's almost a vertical descent.